Board like a motion to approve the agenda for June 6, 2024 as presented.
So moved.
Second. Ponder. All those in favor
I'd
say
like to motion to amend the agenda to remove item 7I, St. Charles County Public Library Statement.
Second.
First by Director Cook, second by Director Harmon. Discussion board?
As this is a school board, it's just my opinion that we should stick to school board matters and not make public statements on matters of the library.
Any other discussion? Comments?
Do we have a draft of what the statement might be to see if the statement is palatable?
I would say that sharing a draft would be going against and sharing the agenda items. So.
But there is a draft, right? There's something for us to look at later on.
Yes.
So I would prefer if you kept this in the agenda, and we get to that point, people can decide if we make or do not make the statement based upon what the statement actually is.
I'd have to back Randy up on this. I agree. This is a slippery slope. I mean, we're a school board. We should in no way be involved in politics. We shouldn't be involved in state politics. We shouldn't be involved in local politics. I mean, at what point do we stop? It's just, in my opinion, we should not be trying to intrude on somebody else's vein.
I would have some questions for clarification because at the second library meeting, I was impressed and appreciated the words Director Cook and Bertrand both made at the library meeting. And I'm curious why it's not appropriate to talk about this as a board. And yet, I thought your words were especially powerful and helpful, and people within FHSD were glad to hear your words at the meeting.
Well, again, I think we all have personal opinions about plethora of matters, be it the library or Jefferson City. But sitting from this dais, we deal with school board matters. And frankly, this isn't a school board matter. I think if individuals want to comment in their private lives, as some of us have, that's part of being an American citizen. But for a school board to do it, this is a, as Ron said, a slippery slope. What do we make a statement on this, then are we going to make a statement on something next month? There's always something going on, right? There's always something local that somebody will want us to comment on. And it takes up time. This is taking up time from educational matters.
I agree. I know slippery slope is also a logical fallacy, and it's not something that usually works as an argument not to do something. It's about making the right decision now. And the only reason we would even discuss it is because 2 of the 3 branches being proposed for closure are within the FHSD boundaries. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be saying anything. But there's a significant amount of people who are hoping that their elected officials at least make some comment that says simply, we like libraries. They're important. We're thankful for the role inside our community. It doesn't necessarily mean you cannot make these changes, but some comment, some statement about support, I think is helpful. Again, it'd be nice if we had a statement listed in the board docs that we can be addressing. But I would say we should keep that within the agenda.
Can we call the question?
Can I call a question?
Wait, it has to have a second.
Call a question, does that have a second?
Calling the question has to have a second. And it has to be approved by 2/3 votes.
Call a question, has a second then. Can we do this by roll call?
Yes, can you tell me who the second was for call the
Director
question?
Cook.
Ready for roll call?
Ready for roll call.
Okay. Director Blair.
This is the motion to remove this. So,
But this is the motion to call the question. Just to quit debate. Right, so I would say, yes, I agree with the motion to quit debate on this topic.
So that's a yay?
It's a yay to the motion to stop debate, which is what a call to question is. You have to have 2/3 votes to actually quit the conversation.
Director Harmon?
Aye.
Vice President Cook?
Aye.
President Bertrand?
Aye.
Treasurer Pushkar?
Aye.
Director Ponder?
Aye. Motion passes. All right, now we have a motion to amend the motion to remove 7I from the agenda. Roll call.
Vice President Cook?
Aye.
President Bertrand?
I'm actually going to abstain since I was the one that sets the agenda, so I'm going to abstain for this question. Let the remainder of the board decide.
Treasurer Pushkar?
Aye.
Director Ponder?
Aye.
Director Blair?
No.
Director Harmon?
Aye.
Ayes have it. So we have a motion to approve the agenda for June 6, 2024 as presented, as amended.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Second.
Aye. All those opposed say no.
I'm abstain.
Ayes have it. Up next, we have patron comments. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff members are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign up, and speakers have 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time. Combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you have taken the time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect the speakers will remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. If anyone fails to comply with those board policies, regulations, and rules, we reserve the right to cut those 3 minutes short. First, we welcome Grayson Justice.
Good evening, board. My name is Grayson Justice. My pronouns are he and she, and I was the alumni of Francis Howell Central of Class 2013. This month is Pride Month, a month where the LGBTQIA+ community celebrates our accomplishments and embrace who we are and let the world know in style. Also learning our history and never repeating the events from the past to bring them back to the present and to the future. Let me tell you my story. I came out around my junior or senior year at Francis Howell Central. My mom and stepdad really accepted me for who I am, and when I went to college for 2 years, I learned more about myself. I am a non-binary, ace, gay person. I've been bullied both at school and my current life, yes, adults too, including some on the board. But I have friends and family who really supports me and accepts me. I'll keep speaking against out ignorance and bigoted policies and bills like the anti-trans and non-binary restrooms and locker room policy to banning books. I will continue to be myself, and if you have a problem with it, it's a you problem. Students need to express themselves without being harassed or targeted. And for the students out there watching or listening who do not feel accepted or loved by their parents, there are people out there who love and accept you for who you are, and they could be your family. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm going to send a flood, going to drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Thank you. Happy Pride.
Next, we welcome Miranda Bell.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the board and the stakeholders of the Francis Howell School District. You might recognize me as that multi-hyphenate mom, wife, grandma, minister, musician, educator, bridge builder, and tireless equity advocate. But today, I'm coming before you in a different capacity. I've recently joined the board of the St. Charles NAACP, and I would like to formally introduce myself as the chairperson of the Education Committee. As such, it is my hope to continue to extend a hand as a partner and ombudsman in building a world that works for us all, especially when it comes to the challenges that we face as parents and students of color in the district. Our work will center around the following: encouraging diversity in hiring practices in St. Charles County schools, providing parent engagement support and assistance in navigating public education, and 3, helping to network and support BIPOC educators and allies. It is my hope to avoid the antagonistic and adversarial interactions that only serve to further divide us and that sets terrible examples for our children. They are watching how we interact when we encounter those with whom we disagree. Instead, my hope is to look forward, to reach, and to build relationships, connections, systems of support, and understanding among those who are diverse and come from diverse walks of life. My goal is to continue helping to build the cultural competence and awareness that can make our district a safe and welcoming environment for all. I have a one-pager that is available to each of you upon request, and I'm happy to set up a time to connect and talk through these priority goals and talk more about how we can all work together to bring them to fruition. Finally, I'm a woman of deep and abiding faith. I've been doing bridge building work a long time, and I'm not tired yet. I'm up for the challenges, and I'm excited for the opportunity to serve you and the stakeholders of this great district. I'd also like to take a moment to invite everyone here out to the next Reach Summer Book Club discussion. It's going to be centered around Born a Crime, Trevor Noah's selection that was taken from the Black History courses, and that's going to happen on June 25th at 6:30 at the Spencer Road Library. Thank you for your time.
Next, we welcome David Williams. David Williams. All right. Up next, we welcome Lori Leary.
Good evening, board. So it feels a little like deja vu. Some things continue to happen, and I've started to notice a pattern. And so I checked some records, and I just wanted to kind of go through and see if what I was feeling was accurate. On April 21st, 2022, the items for Ed Plus and BookFlix were both pulled from the agenda. And there were questions that were asked and that were answered at that time. Some of the questions that were asked about Ed Plus were, what benefits do we receive as a district? And there was an analysis that was shared. For BookFlix, the question that was asked was, have we seen any improvement in ELA scores since implementing these products? And then it was also put in here, I certainly did not use these products in public schools and growing up, yet I learned to read. So that was 2022. 2 current board members voted no, but it still passed. May 18th, 2023, BookFlix was pulled again. It passed with 1 member voting no. May 18th, 2023, Youth Science was pulled. All voted yes, and it passed. And there were questions that were asked and answered for that as well. Some of the questions that were asked for that night. How is it selected over other vendors? What is the point of this software? And has it had any influence on students in truly selecting a career path? All of those questions were answered. On June 15th, 2023, Ed Plus was pulled again. All voted yes. October 26th, 2023, Brain Pop was pulled. All voted yes. So if we include the items that were pulled tonight, that's 3 times for BookFlix, 3 times for Ed Plus, 2 times for Youth Science, and 2 times for Brain Pop. There are questions that the teachers and the academic team in this district have answered over and over again at last minute without very little time. Have you gone and looked at any of these programs and spoken with the teachers that are using them, the academic team that has selected them? Or are we just pulling them for what? You have answers. You've had answers about BrainPop. So then I decided to do a little bit more research. The elementary social studies curriculum references BrainPop 3 times and BookFlix 10 times. It is in the curriculum document to support the learning standards. First grade social studies, BrainPop 39 times, BookFlix 16. Second grade
Thank you.
social studies.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Up next, we welcome Christy Dorman.
Does my time start when I noticed the clock was going, so can I just want to make sure I get my 3 minutes, I guess. Okay, hi.
The 3 minutes started when you
Walked?
walked to the podium.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name's Christy. I spoke with Chris Garland earlier today, and very concerned with some of the changes in the district regarding the summer reading program for kids that are struggling. This year, they made a decision to eliminate children who have an academic need, or who have an IEP maybe, or struggling in some way, could have a learning disability, and they force students and families to make a decision between an enrichment option for students to be in an enrichment summer program, and either select if they were going to go to the reading program and lost out on the enrichment opportunity in the summer camp. Last year, this was not the case, and in prior years, this has never been the case. And to see my son lose out on some of those opportunities, robotics, different features that the district offers for kids in the summer, to be with his peers, and only because of an academic need, they forced that decision on us. He could not have both this year. And I think we can do better. I think there's a workaround. I think next year we need to revisit this and make sure that kids that have an academic need are given an option to have both. They shouldn't be eliminated because of that need. So even if it can't be all of the programs, they should be given some option. It's very disappointing to see that happen this year. And I was here last summer, right around this time, on another summer program challenge too. So it seems like there's always something popping up. But I also want to say some great things that I love about our school district. Becky David Elementary is a phenomenal elementary school. I've had great leadership experiences, faculty, staff, amazing. But I'm very disappointed in our district for losing a phenomenal principal that's been with our district for 24 years. She's given her heart and soul to the school ever since I have been a part of Becky David. Stays late hours, calls families late in the evening, goes above and beyond. And we're losing 3 principals in the Becky David Elementary School. This employee could have been retained. She was here 24 years, principal since 2006. And we allowed her to walk away not walk away, I shouldn't say that, it's not my job, but.
Thank you.
Oh,
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we welcome FHEA.
And I'm still here. Good evening. Tonight, we are pleased to bring the board a memorandum of understanding to amend our closure document. Over the past few months, we have been working with district administration to solve a scheduling problem that was making it impossible for high school teachers with labs to fully implement their curriculum. This situation revealed that teachers at the secondary level were not getting the plan time that was agreed upon in our closure document and board policy. Through many meetings, threat of grievance, we were able to agree to 298 minutes of plan time in order to maintain the time for the important PLC work that is so crucial to the success of FHSD. We hope that when we have concerns that need to be addressed and shouldn't wait until the next negotiations, the district will do us the courtesy of negotiating and working together to benefit the educators in this district. We shouldn't have to wait until the next negotiations. We do bring a concern tonight around the proposed increase to insurance costs. We know that the insurance committee, with collaboration from FHEA, FISPA, Teamsters, and district leadership, worked hard to reduce the increase without compromising the quality of the coverage. The resulting increases are being shared between employees and the district, but for a number of employees, the increases are going to consume their entire raise, which results with them bringing home less money next year because their salary schedule did not provide equitable raises to everyone. We cannot imagine the impact to the non-salaried staff members who make so much less than certified staff. This is something that we need to consider addressing now and in the future so that we can retain the highly qualified staff and not create family stress. Also, we are disappointed that items were pulled at 11 a.m. this morning. It doesn't feel like we trust teachers to teach. We need resources, and we have already had many discussions about some of these resources. Trust your teachers to do their jobs. We have amazing teachers in this district. On the matter of the library, our students use the library services, summer reading programs. Many of our teachers tutor at these libraries. This also helps our students. Thank you.
Up next, we welcome FISPA. No FISPA? Moving on. Board would like a motion to approve the consent agenda for June 6, 2024 as presented.
So moved.
Pushkar. Second. Second by Director Cook. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board would like a motion to approve the purchases as presented.
Second.
Cook. Pushkar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Up next, we have individual purchase items. We have a motion to approve number 10, Brain Pop, as presented. Director Pushkar. Discussion board.
Can we hear why it was removed from the larger collection of resources?
Sure, I asked for it to be removed because I don't support the direction Brain Pop has taken, education.
I'd like to ask if you consulted any teachers or admin.
Yes.
So the teachers in your buddy's school,
No, not every teacher.
not every teacher, but you have consulted
Yes.
multiple teachers,
Yes, I have.
right? And they have said what about Brain Pop?
They like it.
Okay.
You think I should do whatever the teachers say? Why am I here?
There's two things I'm hoping you're here for. One is to make every decision based upon what's best for the students, and I think sometimes
That's exactly what I'm doing.
okay. Number two, you're here to be a supporter and advancer of public education as a whole, and to ask tough questions. And I appreciate in multiple occasions where you do ask tough questions. And I'll acknowledge that. I like the fact that you stand on your beliefs, even if your beliefs are different than everybody else's. I think that you are consistent in a lot of different things. The way that you not only made this decision, but the decision to make this change so late is something that is eroding some trust in the board, and it's one of the reasons why I am calling this out right now.
Well, I disagree. I actually think that these services like this, Brain Pop, for instance, are taking public education in a direction that many people do not agree with. It's actually driving people away from public education when school districts adopt these third-party things, these for-profit companies, that many of our residents do not support the material and the social agendas that they push.
Which
So
social
these
agenda-
things,
Which social agenda are you?
excuse me, I have the floor.
Okay.
These things are not supported by a large number of our community, certainly 1/7. And so I will vote no, because I actually think that removing these items helps protect public education. I'm thinking of the long game here. So as much as you want to talk about public education and whether I support students, this does support students, my decision. I believe that many things within Brain Pop and many of the positions they take are not suitable for students.
Can you
So
name-
that's the reason.
can you
No, I'm
name-
not going to go through and name them all. This is my decision. I came to it over a year of thinking about it. Approving this last year is one of the biggest regrets of my decisions on this board. I lost sleep over it. This is not a company I will support. You can support it. Clearly you do.
Can we
I
call the
like-
question?
But we just started this conversation.
Can we call the
You
question?
have a call to question.
There hasn't been a second, so
We're looking at the rules on that.
go for it. All right. I use Brain Pop regularly in my classroom. We have limited resources for social studies. Taking Brain Pop away will make planning more difficult than it already is. Please keep Brain
Right
Pop.
now, we have a call to questions. We can't be having more discussion, so we get this worked out.
Well, it hasn't been seconded.
We can't have any more discussion until,
It has to be seconded before.
Second the motion to call the question.
thank you, Director Cook.
Per the rules, there's no more debate and there's no need to take a vote on this, on the calling of the question.
All right, so we have a motion to approve number 10, Brain Pop as presented. All those in,
No. We're voting on the question being called. This got passed by 2/3 vote. It was in my board training last week. Do we have a parliamentarian who can speak to this? In my experience in large conferences, having a vote to call the question is important. Otherwise, two people can call a question that determines a body of 200, 300, 400 people.
Previous question.
so we have a call to question, first by Director Pushkar, second by Director Cook. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Question passes, motion passes. So we have a motion to approve number 10, Brain Pop as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Could I get that in a roll?
Roll call? Yep,
Yes.
roll call.
And this is for motion to approve number 10.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Director Blair,
Can I read the motion again?
Motion to approve Brain Pop number 10.
Aye.
Director Harmon,
No.
Vice President Cook,
No.
President Bertrand,
Aye.
Treasurer Pushkar,
No.
Director Ponder.
No.
So I have a point of order. Is that rejection, is the decision to not renew Brain Pop, is that in order considering how many different curriculum are embedded with that? Does that require us to change all the curriculum that was that refers to it as well? Because if Brain Pop is woven into a lot of these different curriculum, do we have the ability to just reject it in this moment?
I think we'll have to look for further information on that sense, but as of this moment, from this motion, and it has been not renewed.
So when do we find out if the decision was in order?
Decision to remove Brain Pop.
Right,
Not
because Brain Pop is woven into all these other things that have been approved.
I think the decision's in order. That's why we had the motion.
So do we just vote to change, how many curriculum do we just vote to change?
I think we're going to move on to.
Well, we just voted to change how many curriculum, 50? 60?
Board like a motion to approve number 12, use science discovery as presented.
A point of order question takes precedence.
So moved.
Point of order, I just want to make sure, if we're in order, that's fine. A point of order question takes precedence.
And I'm ruling that question out of order at this point, that we're moving on to the next topic, because what I said, I don't think, we made a motion, like, if we didn't make if we didn't have that motion, if we can't legally make that, or can't formally make that motion, then why have the motion in the first place?
I'm just, when they asked the question if we were in order.
Yep. Thank you. So board, I have a motion to approve number 12, use science discovery as presented.
So moved.
Pushkar. Second. Ponder. Discussion board.
I'd like to share a couple things from patrons. One says, I enjoyed use science, took my assessment. My son, who'll be a senior, pulled up his results from his freshman year. We went over it. It was very helpful when planning his future career activities. Another person made a comment. Use science is a great tool for career and post-secondary planning. It has so many different uses, more levels. The TAP is a strong resource for all schools. I know it was used in citizens in our schools to great success, and I believe that it is a resource that teachers would like to have continue.
Any other discussion, comments?
Are there any concerns that could be answered by a person who knows a lot about use science? What is the reason for removing use science?
I'm sorry you didn't hear my objections when this came about many years ago, but use science is a program that collects psychological data on students, very valuable data. And a data breach would expose all of this to untold number of nefarious parties. And to me, I don't think the risk of that information being out there is worth the benefit. I think data breaches are fresh in all of our minds, and the amount of data that use science collects on our students is tremendous. And if you read their if you read their agreement with the district, it is very one-sided. And so no, I don't support this.
Do we have somebody from the district able to speak about use of use science? Is there anybody here who can speak about what it does and what we benefit from and what we would lose? Is it possible to invite somebody to speak on use science? Because these questions weren't asked ahead of time, excuse me. So the question is, what is about use science?
They've been asked in prior years.
Right. For the sake of transparency, we're all here. Are there consolations to be received about the security of information?
Talk about any answers.
I'm sure the answer will
share.
Yeah.
And can anyone guarantee the security of this data?
What level of security are you wanting?
That it won't be, that it won't be
100% security.
100% confirmation. No.
Do we, somebody standing up in the back?
We can't guarantee the data 100%. What I will point out is that we've shared the questions previously that are asked, that they really are aptitude and interest questions as opposed to personally identifiable information about the individual student that we would be concerned if it was out there. There are also opportunities when the student completes the questionnaire. While it does ask for a zip code, it asks for a phone number. We encourage the students to put in just 10 arbitrary numbers and not their actual phone number. It does ask their current level, middle school, high school, their current grade, what they're considering following high school, 2-year, 4-year military tech. It does ask for a birth date. Again, we encourage them to just put in arbitrary numbers and not their actual birth date. For gender and ethnicity, they have the ability to answer the question or choose not to respond. So in that sense, we do believe that the information that is input, we're comfortable with it being out there. And I think Dr. Buckman can speak to specifically how we use the assessment within the district.
Our 9th graders complete U Science in the fall, and that helps to inform their course selections through high school. Again, it's that interest aptitude, and so it gives them career opportunities. They can sort it by careers that I would be interested in. They can sort it by careers that I might be successful in, or there's actually a future where they can kind of combine the two and sort both. They can do some brain games along the way and kind of update that. And then in middle school, our 7th graders do the U Science snapshot, and that again provides a personalized report to each student that talks to them about their aptitudes, career pathways, educational opportunities that might benefit from them. They use those results to prepare for the 7th grade career fair, which is something new that we've added in the last couple years. And then all of our students use that to help build that state-required ICAP. It's that individual career and academic plan and that 4-year high school plan in a nutshell.
Somebody was standing up in the past. I'm not sure protocol-wise. Is there like an expert about this? Who was standing up? I can't.
I'm here, but I don't. Whatever the board wants.
I didn't.
Just to say, I know you read some anecdotal comments right there about some students that liked it. In my experience, the students I've talked to, my family, my kids, their friends, they don't necessarily put a whole lot of weight into it. They don't take doing the questionnaire seriously. For instance, one of mine ended up being that they were going to be a park ranger. He's definitely not a park ranger now. So, and one of them, a general question typically always revolves around, do you want to help people? Well, yes. They have no interest in the medical field. So, yeah, so you have anecdotal saying, I'm sure somebody likes it, but by and large, I don't think the kids take it seriously, and I don't really think they get a whole lot of, it's not as useful as some may say.
I think we have an admin who is in favor of using it, who is skilled in that profession, and I feel as if the board can go a long way into affirming and listening to the experts in the room. And I wish we would practice that curiosity and humility when we talk about resources that they live with on a daily basis. And some of us didn't even research until this morning when it got changed on the agenda.
My concern about the kids is that they are inputting information, and I know Dr. Rumpus and I appreciate the fact that you and other administrators tell the kids to put in, fake phone numbers and our birthdays. But my concern is that anytime we input information and it goes to a third party who cannot, who can do with that information whatever they please, I don't believe that's fair to the kids. If there was a program where they could get the same information where it wasn't recorded, just a database of kid inputs, well, I like this, I like the color blue, that must mean I want to be a pilot, whatever the questions are, and then get an automatic feedback. I don't understand why this information has to be kept in an outside database that concerns our kids. Never did like it, we'll never vote for that.
I will also add that it is an opt-out assessment, so if a parent does not want their child to take it or input their data, the parent can choose to not have their student complete the assessment.
Dr. Buckman or Dr. Rumpus, is there a way for it to, I guess, for a student to participate without even being asked to input that information?
I don't know that we have the answer to that question this evening.
I think that's one of the, Ms. Vargas, can you come up here, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, say it one more time. Who asked the question?
I didn't. Is there a way for a student to participate with this, in this program without even being asked the question to provide information? Do they have to provide information in order to participate, or can they just participate without being asked?
You mean the demographic information?
Yes.
The first
Any
portion,
information whatsoever.
the first portion that Dr. Rump has covered, yes. But that's really to connect, the results that come from U-Science are not connected to, let's say, our data system, our gradebook system, or Infinite Campus. So it's just a way for us to be able to identify that this was Mark Ponder and these were his results. So there are required pieces of information at the beginning, the basic demographics, but the ethnicity, and I think there's one or two other questions, again, those are strictly optional. It does pass, and I'm glad Rich Wilson is here, because he could probably speak more to the security of it than I could, but it passes all of our other, all of our district protocol and expectations, benchmarks, which are high-level benchmarks that all of our other platforms pass. The company itself has the language in the security portion of their website and the documentation they've sent to us to verify that they do not sell the data to third-party people. It is not, and I do want to clarify, it is not psychological data. It is not a psychological test. It is not an IQ test. It is strictly interest, aptitudes, and personality based off the ball aptitude assessment, Holland codes, and the ONET interest inventory that anybody in the country can take on our ONET website.
Do you know if you mentioned the information that's on their website that says that they're not going to sell the data, and the information that they send to us is not going to send their data, that's
Right.
what they say. Is that also in the contract? That they're not going to sell our data, or?
Well, it's stated everything that's been reviewed based with our technology. I would hope so. Rich is not.
Well, I just want to make sure
so
that,
yes.
that the contract and what they state are
Yes.
one and the same.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Rumpus, you would agree with that?
And I just, if I could, to address Director Harmon's concerns. You may get a student who might get more arbitrary, broader results if they aren't putting the effort into the assessment. Students are told and reminded by teachers, counselors, and as we continue to grow the program, a multitude of different ways, that this is a tool to be taken seriously, like any other assessment that's given. So if you have a student who is mismatched, it is likely that they didn't take it seriously and they were arbitrarily marking responses. It's not going to produce accurate results if they are not putting forth the effort on the aptitude assessment, or if they're on the interest inventory, just clicking. So if there's an arbitrary response, I can assure you it's because the student, to your point, did not invest the time or energy into the assessment. We've had grown adults through the Citizens in Our Schools program complete the assessment, and I asked for their very candid, honest feedback, and they gave it to me. They were a very candid, honest group of people. Sometimes it hurts. Most of the time it was great to hear it. And they were all very impressed by the assessment itself and the alignment to what it was suggesting for career goals, both by interest only, aptitude only, and the best fit feature. I can vouch for that, and the adults that I know 100% put in the effort and time, and the students that I have spoken with and the families of those students who have taken the assessment seriously really value the discussions that it drives at home for high school course selection as well as post-secondary training planning.
Well, I guess your point, and Dr. Rompus's point, the fact that we have to, we're asking them to take this seriously, right?
Yeah.
And then the first thing we do is say, oh, well, don't put 10 digits as your phone number. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive, wouldn't you say? I mean, hey,
Yep.
take this very, very seriously, but when it comes
but
down to it, don't worry about any of the information.
Well, the
you're putting.
beginning part where we asked them to put arbitrary numbers was at the request of the Board of Education. I would be happy to instruct students to put the accurate information in. But I do think that would be a very simple clarifying point that our teachers, and I trust that our teachers would make, that this is the content, the precursor to the actual assessment. But that was not something that, again, the academic team, or certainly myself, is requiring of our students. It was a concern brought up by the board, and we're trying to be as discreet and confidential as possible to protect that data, because we do take that seriously.
Do you know if there are any other programs available that would not take the students' information and put it in an outside database?
Well, I can tell you there are multiple platforms out there, some much costlier than this assessment, that would collect the exact same data. And then we have all the way down to a free version that is just the interest portion. It's not the personality assessment or aptitude assessment. And that's ran by DESE. And so they have all of the students' information connected as well.
So I'm hearing is that you found value in this program and it meets the district's highest threshold of data security.
Significantly done my homework and my research, I can assure you that. And again, for the volume of information, the accuracy of the information when taken seriously, and the fit of all three of those areas combined, I cannot find a match, both in quality or price point, for what we're trying to achieve with students, which is essentially helping them be align themselves from seventh grade on, both in their high school curriculum and what they're starting to dream up for the future after high school. There is a lot of data and support out there to show that our secondary schooling system misaligns students. And as wonderful as our teachers are and the rich amount of courses that our students can take, I think sometimes that can be a detriment to our kids when they're trying to figure out what they want to take in high school. So to really help them develop self-awareness and truly get to the core of who they are, what they love to do, what they're good at, and have an assessment that shows them the multitude of career paths out there, and then to show them the classes in high school that line up with those opportunities is, in my opinion, and I know I'm biased, is gold. And I really wish I would have had that as a student here in the Francis Howell School District 25 years ago. So I'm very passionate about it, and I have done my homework. I think this is a very rich, valuable tool, and we'll only continue to grow and support it as we continue to use it. And we are taking steps even just over the summer and into early fall to ensure that we are implementing it with greater fidelity and with greater purpose, and that we are doing an even better job of educating parents as well as students on the value of it and how to use it impactfully in the home.
If pie in the sky, right?
Yeah.
Your choice of all of the systems and programs out there.
Yeah.
Can you name a couple that you would rather have?
Well, the Cadillac, if you will, is Xello, Xello, and that is the reason why I'll say this. I wish I could take the U-Science portion of U-Science, the assessment piece, and bring it over to Xello. Xello is a Cadillac platform, if you will, because it merges all the things we need for post-secondary readiness tool-wise into one login. So it has transcript submission and college search opportunities and community partnership connections, and the ICAP that Dr. Buckman referenced can be housed in there. Kids can select their courses through there for high school. So in terms of efficiency and not making our teachers and our students log into 7 million different things, Canvas, Infinite Campus, U-Science, SCORE, Xello is the end-all be-all. Winsville School District just adopted it a year ago, and they love it. but it is, instead of $19,000, I know that's just one portion we're looking at tonight. It's in the upwards of $150,000 a year. So it's very pricey. And beyond Zello, there's really not much else I would sniff at. And I've sat on many a call. Maya Learning might be a very distant third.
You mentioned that you don't think this collects psychological data. How would you classify the data that it collects on students then?
Well, psychological, and this is just me putting my counselor hat on, and the psychology classes I took through that program. Psychological data typically has metrics, so that's number one. So you're going to get, on any psychological assessment, for the most part, you're going to get several scores on that are quantified.
The Big Five, is that how you're talking?
Quantifiable. So I don't know what the Big Five is, but I do know that most psychological assessments are going to have some kind of quantifiable data. U-Science does not provide quantifiable data. So there's no way for us to throw our students' results onto a scattergram and start comparing Dr. Rumpus to Dr. Buckman and pigeonholing them into certain tracks or classes or post-secondary programs. It really is individualized and unique. I would also say that oftentimes psychological data, the one major assessment that is performed during a psychological evaluation is an IQ test, a WASI, a WISC, a Stanford Binet, you name it. This is not an IQ test. We do not take IQ or intellect data on our students through this process. And there's probably a few others I could think of, but it is not a psychological assessment. It just isn't.
So maybe just commentary, like prior to this program, I assume either we didn't have much of anything, or their kids were just left on their own, or they sat down with the counselor and the counselor asked them a few general questions. Is that you might want to think about X, Y, Z?
Yes.
Is how we kind of approach things.
Yes. And I would say that's very accurate, President Bertrand. And I would also say that the one assessment that we used, and I will use that term lightly, both at middle school and high school, is the Missouri Connections DESE-based assessment, the free one, and that is just the interest inventory piece that, again, is also free and accessible on ONET. And interests change, they evolve. It's not an accurate predictor of what a student may really enjoy taking in high school, nor is it an accurate predictor of what career they may enjoy down the road. So that's why when you get the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, and you get the response, a professional YouTuber, or, I don't know, a professional skateboarder or whatever, it's because you're asking 7th graders this question. That is what they love to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to tie in that abilities piece too, that aptitudes piece. And we have to start getting better at pinpointing and helping kids really articulate, this is what I'm good at. And I like to do this as well. Or I'm really good at this, but guess what? I don't like doing it. We get that a lot too. You're so good at math, you should get into accounting. Well, Mom, I don't like math. I'm sorry, I don't. I like people. I want to serve people. Okay, well then let's find a way to incorporate your math abilities and your analytical abilities that go with that, along with your love for people. Here's a platform that can show you that, and all the careers that take those two things and mush them together.
Other questions, board?
No, but thank you for all the great information that you shared.
Sorry.
I hope you know we all think very highly of your program.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you very much for your time.
I just would like to say, do you guys have anything else to add at all? Just good? Okay. Okay. Just didn't want to make sure she didn't.
All right, board, motion to approve number 12, U-Science Discovery as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Ayes have it. Board, like a motion to approve the number 15 Scholastic Book Flicks as presented.
So moved.
Pushkar, Ponder. Discussion board.
Can we hear why it was pulled? What are the concerns we should know about?
I asked this item to be pulled. I do not support the direction that Scholastic has taken many educational portions. They're a big driver of many public education things, and for the same reasons as Brain Pop. I don't think it's good for public education overall, and not good for students here in Francis Howell.
I'm worried because if it's something that's really bad, I like to know what it is. So can you share and say, this is dangerous to our students for transparency? I know we all like transparency. Can you say, this is what exists within Scholastic Bookflix that you think is a danger, takes us in the wrong direction?
I'm sorry you didn't look at the agenda for this item until this morning, but no, I cannot.
Can you say that I haven't looked at the agenda?
Yes, you said earlier that you hadn't looked at the agenda.
Oh, no, I looked at the agenda
on
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and then again at Thursday 11.
So you must have misspoke earlier when you said that you didn't look at it till this morning.
I didn't see the change happen until this morning, but I looked at it multiple times. So what's the answer? What's so?
The answer is I cannot explain to you in a board meeting here at 8 o'clock, 7:30 at night, all of the problems with Scholastic.
Name three.
If you'd like to do some research on your own.
No.
I'm not going down this road. If I name something and then you say, but that's good for students. I'm not answering your questions.
So when you ask, like, what's your role here, it's to ask questions, to pursue the truth and present the truth in transparent ways. If it's so bad, share with us what it is. And again, I didn't have opportunities to ask further questions of any of the staff because it was added as an agenda item in this way early this morning, which becomes to feel more and more intentional. And so my question for you is, what is so bad about Scholastic Bookflix? Three things. Like,
I don't answer to you.
I know you don't. I know you don't. I'm just asking. I'm asking on behalf of everybody else. Can you share with us what you're saying for the teachers?
You're welcome to ask the question. If Director Cook does not want to provide an answer.
Right. There are people who have appreciate Scholastic Bookflix. I've talked to some parents and who've shared online in other ways that they think it's a good tool. I know this is going to be called anecdotal, but I did ask parents, I did ask people what they thought, and they said Bookflix is a great tool for students that are either non-readers or struggling readers. Research has proven that listening to books can increase reading skills. Another person says, please keep Brain Pop Bookflix. I use these resources for my SPED kids and lower readers. They are great resources. So is there anything from a admin who can tell us the value that Bookflix has for our district?
Go ahead, Ms. Dr. Bachman.
Sure. Cut you off, I apologize.
Go ahead.
Just for context, I can share a little about what it is. It's an electronic resource that pairs a fiction and a nonfiction book around a topic for our pre-K through third grade students. We've been using the resource in the district for about 11 years. It supports a lot of our early literacy efforts. It'll read a book aloud to a student if that's necessary. It includes some puzzlers, which are features that ask questions related to vocabulary, comprehension, fact or fiction from the book, some sequencing activities. Many teachers use this with research for our younger students in their classrooms. They often use it if they don't have a book that goes with the topic they're looking for. They can go into Bookflix and pull up a book online that goes with the topic that they're looking for if they don't have a physical book. Some teachers use it as listening centers in their classrooms. It helps with vocabulary and building background knowledge for some of our struggling students, especially our English language learners who need that extra vocabulary. We looked at some data through April. There were more than 140,000 documents that were used, so like a book would be a document, through more than 64,000 sessions through April. So usage is strong.
I know we've had this conversation before about these resources and whether or not they're being monitored by anyone. And I remember a discussion in the past where the resource was being considered, but it was admitted that there was age-inappropriate information in there, maybe subject too old for a younger learner, maybe an inappropriate subject for a more developed or older learner. And that I think that's my issue. Is anybody watching what's in these resources? Because as anecdotal goes, I've heard that there's inappropriate, information being passed through these.
In book flicks?
In book flicks, yes.
I haven't heard that concern. If you pass those along to us, we're happy to investigate them as you hear them. We appreciate that. We don't preview every piece of information in the resource. We would expect our teachers, before you're using something with students, that you're previewing it and making sure that it's appropriate for the student that's consuming it. And I would say that's just a general expectation across any resource that we're using. It's nothing special for book flicks.
That's expecting a lot from the teachers, though. I mean, you got 30 kids in your class, and you're supposed to preview each thing that they want to watch or review or learn from. That's a lot, in my estimation.
Other comments, board? Questions?
Would removing this require teachers to then have to find supplemental resources and therefore ask our teachers to do a lot? I think, is that the idea, that they'd have to replace this? That would be...
Our teachers that use book flicks would need to find a different resource if the board doesn't approve it.
All right, seeing no more discussion, board, we're going to move on to voting. Motion to approve number 15, Scholastic book flicks. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Ayes have it. Or like a motion to approve number 26, Education Plus, as presented.
So moved.
Bushka, Director Ponder. Discussion board.
I'd like to know why this was pulled.
I pulled this because I don't support Education Plus.
Can I ask what is part of Education Plus that is objectionable so that we can learn?
You can research Education Plus on your own, but I don't support the direction that they're taking public education.
Question board?
Well, can I ask a clarifying question? What does Education Plus do, and how is it currently being used in our district?
Dr. Rumpus?
Is a local education cooperative that we actually use for a variety of different sources and opportunities. Everything from, they offer significant professional development that supports all positions in the district, from the superintendent to leaders at the district level, leaders at the building level, support staff positions throughout the district of a variety of levels in all different classifications. So we take advantage of the professional development opportunities that they offer throughout the year. Some of it is open to anybody in the district that we send people to, and then some of it is also customizable specifically to needs we have within the district. They offer a lot of high-quality, specialized training that we need. Specifically, we send a group of teachers over just the last couple of days to an EL, English Learner Conference that they provide. If we were to send people large numbers to these conferences nationally, it would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. In this case, generally, on average, it's about $200 to $250 a person that we're able to get high-quality professional development locally. Other recent professional development they've done, the letters training that we've talked about around the science of reading, they offer a lot of that locally that many of our teachers have taken advantage of. There are pieces related to instructional technology. Math has been a focus lately, and they provided some of that. Additionally, they are a purchasing cooperative, so we receive other benefits from them. We're able to use them for certain purchases. We receive a rebate from them along with other districts within the St. Louis region who participate for the purchase card program that we utilize as a district. And so a wide variety of services that they provide, and some of them are quantifiable that we can look at, and then there are other pieces, some of the purchasing, there are some ways we can't necessarily measure everything that we do, and then the ability to utilize the networking, professional development for all the positions within the district is a huge advantage for us as well.
Thank you, Dr. Ramos. Other questions, board? Discussion?
Do all districts in the St. Louis metropolitan area on the Missouri side use Education Plus, or are there ones that are using something else?
There's not another cooperative that provides all of the same services and resources that they do. I don't believe that every single district participates, but it is most of them in the area, as well as a couple of the districts on the Illinois side of the river as well.
So Education Plus also provides some financial savings as well, is that correct? So this is more than just an education topic, this is also financial implications, okay?
All right, seeing no more discussion, move on to voting. Board, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Ayes have it. Or like a motion to approve the Hollis and Miller plus Miller Architects to serve as the district architect for bond fund and regular capital fund projects as presented. Director Pushkar, Director Ponder. Discussions or questions, board? I would just like to make a little statement just for the audience that this is for replacement of Honer, just for everybody that's trying to follow along with all the past items from previous board members. So this was brought up, and this is the motion to approve that replacement. Board, all those in favor say.
Just to clarify on new projects,
Yeah.
Honer still serves us on the project there.
Thank you for that clarification.
And homeowner is cooperating with the.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for that clarification, Vice President Cook. So board, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board, like a motion to approve the meal and a la carte prices for the 24-25 school year as presented.
So moved.
There. Questions, board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board, like a motion to approve the FHSD Memorandum of Understanding as presented. Director Pushkar, Director Ponder. Ms. Simpkins.
Thank you, President Bertrand. I don't have anything to share other than to thank FHEA for collaborating with us in solving this planning and schedule concern that we had, and we recommend that the board approve the Memorandum of Understanding. And if you'd like to just wait until the end of the meeting, we can sign it at the end instead of taking a break if you'd prefer to do that.
Thank you very much. Any questions, board? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. We will sign at the end of the meeting. Item 7 is moved. Up next, we have recommendations for employee benefits plan. Jacob Myers.
Good evening, board. Tonight we're going to go ahead and give you a first reading of our 2024-2025 health insurance renewal. We're going to do a brief overview of the current offerings of the plan, as well as the results from our committee meetings, and then ultimately the recommendation that will be returned to you on the 20th. First, I wanted to point you to the board regulation that requires us to offer all of our employees district-paid health insurance for both medical, dental, and vision. We offer that full contribution for our base plan, and then it is up to the employee to cover a portion of their spouse or children plans. The district does cover a portion of that as well. We'll go into that in more depth on a later slide. I briefly wanted to talk about the group of stakeholders that went into developing this recommendation to you. I want to thank our Francis Howell team, our benefits team, and all of the administrators that participated both through the committee and discussions and meetings with our benefits consultant. I also wanted to thank the board-appointed insurance committee who have members from the retiree, FHEA, FESPA, teachers, and other members. We brought this recommendation to them for review. We discussed it, and then there was unanimous consensus to bring this forward as the recommendation tonight, so I wanted to thank all of their work. Our last meeting was in May. Finally, I wanted to talk about our benefits consultant. Currently, we utilize MMA and their resources. They provide an invaluable resource and give us transparent, objective data that allow us to make the decisions and bring those recommendations to you. Not only do they provide us comparable data so that we can make sure that our plan design and premiums, employer contributions are all in line with our competitors, but they also manage and assist with the RFP process for all of our vendors, making sure that we're in compliance with all of the requirements of the plan, as well as create and provide us plan design changes, employer premiums that we can present to the committee for discussion. So they are vital in all of those roles. I know that we have some new members on the board, so I wanted to remind everybody the difference between our self-insured plan versus a fully insured plan. So we do have two self-insured plans, that's our medical and our dental plans, and we have one fully insured plan, which is our vision plan. Essentially, with the self-insured plan, all of our premiums that we pay on behalf of our employees, as well as their premiums they're paying for their supplemental coverage, goes into a bank account that the district manages. And then we utilize all of those premiums and reserves to pay out the claims and administrative costs. The benefits of being self-insured are that we have full control over the plan design. We can shift things like deductible and out-of-pocket maximums and premiums and adjust to fit the district's specific needs. In addition, any potential savings from the plan goes back into the district. So if we have a good year with low claims, the district is the one that reaps the rewards of that positive year versus a fully insured plan, which just is returned to that insurance carrier. A brief overview of our current offerings. We currently offer two medical plans. They are both administered by Cigna with our pharmacy benefits through our current vendor of CVS. We have both a PPO plan as well as a consumer-driven health plan. Essentially, your base plan or PPO plan that we referenced in this presentation is your typical copay plan where you would go to a specialist and pay a copay, or an urgent care you'd pay a copay, and then all of the additional costs would be covered. A consumer-driven health plan has a higher deductible as mandated by the IRS, and we actually contribute to a health savings account to cover your first portion of your deductible. And then any portion after that you would pay up until you reach the deductible maximum. Other benefits that we offer are the CARE ATC clinic. This is a low to no cost general medical care for our employees. Ultimately, it saves the district and employees funds by utilizing our CARE ATC clinic. And then another benefit that I wanted to point out, we'll go into further detail on another slide, is that the district does fund partial premium payments for spouse, children, and family plans. That is a major benefit to our staff. Many districts do not contribute a specific portion to these additional dependents that are on the plan, whereas Francis Howell has historically contributed to those plans. We currently offer one dental insurance plan. It's a PPO plan administered by Delta Dental. And then that fully insured IMED vision insurance is offered to our staff as well. Our life insurance and short-term disability are both administered by Lincoln. Our life insurance, all employees have a $75,000 term life insurance policy, as well as the option to purchase supplemental life insurance at the employee's cost. Short-term disability is also maintained for all employees. This is utilized when our staff go out on leave. After a certain period of time, they are automatically eligible for that short-term disability, which pays them a prorated portion of their wages while they continue to be out. Finally, we offer an employee assistance program. This is a benefit to our staff that they can utilize free counseling services, financial services, dietitians. There are lots of different resources that are available for free and confidentially through our employee assistance program. On the 20th, we're going to be bringing several recommendations. This is just a brief summary. We're going to go into each of these recommendations. We did rebid our employee assistance program, so we're going to be bringing the recommendation to maintain our current administrator. We are going to bring premium increases for both the dental and the medical program, as well as a recommendation to maintain our current administrator for our health insurance. And finally, the recommendation to change from CVS to Express Scripts. We put out an RFP for the Employee Assistance Program and received 4 responses. They came from Personal Assistance Services, ComPsych, Magellan, and Modern Health. Based on the results of the RFP, past Personal Assistance Services provides the most competitive bid from both a pricing perspective without changing our program. We will see a slight increase from $1.60 per employee per month to $1.80 per employee per month, but they were overall the best and most cost-effective solution for us. MMA gives us regular updates on our projected gap between our funding and our expected claims for the plan. And based on that recommendation, we're bringing forward a 2% increase to our dental premiums. We issued an RFP for our medical provider. Cigna is our current incumbent. We also received bids from Aetna, Anthem, and United Healthcare. As a group, we analyzed and evaluated those RFPs for more than just price. We examined them utilizing a comprehensive rubric that looked at such things as customer service, effect to employees, change from network to out-of-network doctors and how that would affect our employees. Ultimately, on all respects, Cigna was the recommendation, both from a cost perspective as well as all the other factors that were considered. Pharmacy PBMs were also bid. We had 4 respondents from a carve-in perspective, as well as 2 from a carve-out. What that means is, when we went out to bid for our health services, we asked them to bid both with pharmacy included, so Cigna's health plan with Cigna's pharmacy, as well as Cigna's pricing without their pharmacy, which would utilize our BHC program. All 4 respondents for our medical, their carve-in policies were significantly higher than our BHC alternatives. So we already were aware that we were going to be selecting the BHC as a recommendation to the board. We had to wait until May 2024 before the Business Health Coalition was able to complete their market check on their pharmacy providers, which was a bit of a surprise. We expected to be bringing a proposal for CVS, but Express Scripts came in extremely competitive, and we anticipate an approximate savings of $500,000 every year for the next 3 years by switching to Express Scripts. We didn't want to make that decision without examining how the disruption will affect our current users of the plan. We should see 80 users have a positive benefit on the switch to Express Scripts. Currently, they are on medications that are non-formulary in nature, and they will move to the formulary. So they should have an easier time and more cost-effective time getting those medications. 160 users will have their medications moved to a formulary alternative. What I want to note is that doesn't necessarily mean that they will be switching or noticing that change at all. It could be a brand of pen, maybe a diabetic pen, where it does the same thing, but it's now Express Scripts brand versus CVS's brand. It could be that Express Scripts has a new or better option on their formulary for a different medication. The other thing to note is, regardless of whether we would switch pharmacy benefit providers, each company goes through a formulary review every year, and we would likely see some of these changes with or without the change.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of times when you're talking about a formulary alternative, what I know from that is typically that they'll use something in the same drug class, meaning Zyrtec and, what's another one, Benadryl, I don't know, whatever antihistamines that you're talking about. Is that what you're referring to here?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Because
So
you might
they-
get some complaints.
I know, there's always
Okay.
going to be, but it happens every year whether we stay with CVS or we move to Express Scripts.
Oh.
CVS also reviews their formulary and brings forward a recommendation, so we see these complaints every year regardless. In analyzing the financial data of our plan, we are taking the projected expenses after MMA has looked at the prior 3 years, made a cost estimate based on our current plan design, as well as the trends within the market. We then determine the required reserve, which is based off of 2 months of claim data and 3 months of administrative costs making sure that we have enough in the account to sustain the program on average. And then we come up with something called a funding gap. Essentially, that means if we keep our premiums exactly the same, we will experience a gap of 6.7% from what is required based on our estimate for next year. When that happens, we have two options. We can either review plan design changes, which would ultimately decrease our projected expenses, or we will have to increase premiums, or we would have to do a combination of the two. During our work with the insurance committee, we did bring forward options that reviewed plan design changes as well as premium changes. And the committee decided, they reached a consensus that the 6.7% increase with no plan design changes was recommended. As we go through our comp data, you'll see that our deductibles are relatively in line with our competitors, so it makes sense that our plan design would stay relatively the same. I know this is hard to read, but it should be online a little bit easier. The main thing that I want to show you is that our bottom line, the monthly employee contributions, is the only thing that kind of sticks out as not exactly comparable to every other category. The reason for that is that we do provide a benefit to our staff of providing premium contributions for our family, spouse, and child plan options. So that doesn't necessarily mean that's the exact cost split, but you'll see that we require family contribution of 30%, where our STL schools are expecting a 52% contribution. Looking at our high deductible plan, you'll see the same thing. We're relatively in line in terms of deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. But again, that bottom row where we're talking about 0% contribution requirement for employee-only coverage, 15% for family coverage, is out of line with other area comparable districts and other book of business with MMA. I don't bring this up to change necessarily, just to point this out that this is a major benefit for our staff, that we do cover a portion of their premiums that other places may require them to contribute more. Again, we are bringing forward a recommendation to increase premiums for both employees and the district of 6.7%. Another change would be to increase the embedded deductible from $3,000 to $3,200. Although this is included with our recommendation, we don't really have an option if we want to maintain our high deductible status. This is an IRS regulation. They're the ones that set that deductible amount. And in order for us to qualify and allow for the HSA plan, we have to meet those minimum requirements. So this embedded deductible, for those that are unfamiliar, if you're on a family plan with a high deductible plan, you have a deductible of $5,800. That means that every member of the family in your plan, once you reach that $5,800, you are done paying for your medical care. An embedded deductible takes one individual out of that family and says if you hit the embedded deductible of $3,200, you don't have to contribute any more to the deductible. If your child or spouse goes to get care, they would continue to contribute until you reach that maximum, but the embedded deductible is for an individual within a family plan. This is just some rationale that we used. We continue to monitor on a monthly basis the plan performance. We continue to meet with MMA and our vendors to examine future trends, and we try to base our decisions and recommendations on that information. We then analyze whether any plan changes are needed or district contribution changes are needed. The goal is to develop a long-term proactive plan that supports the retention and attraction of staff while maintaining a fiscally responsible insurance benefit plan. This slide just shows you a summary of what the projected increases would be were the board to approve a 6.7% premium increase. I will note that they're slightly different than what was originally posted, but it's only between $1 to $5 difference on each line. That was due to some new information that came in, but I want to assure you that what's on this slide is what will be brought on the 20th. This is just a summary of what we went over. So again, we're going to recommend remaining with pass. The rate increase from $1.60 per employee per month to $1.80 per employee per month. A 2% rate increase with no plan changes for dental. 6.7% premium increase with no plan changes for medical. Accepting Cigna as the provider. Increasing the embedded deductible for $200 to reach that $3,200 mark, as well as accept the Express Scripts as PBM. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, board? Does not look like it. Thank you very much. Next, we have more excitement with Ms. Embry and the 24-25 budget recommendation.
I'm so glad to be introduced like that. Thank you. And actually, this represents us coming full circle. So those of you who were on the board at the June 1st meeting last year, this is going to be a deja vu moment for you and for those who've tuned in, but there is new information to share, so we'll cover that. So let me get started here. Thank you, Ms. Hippler, for getting that going. My goal is to top the insurance presentation. Okay. I think I'm picking up, right? Okay. So this represents our presentation objectives. We'll follow that same pattern, and you'll see some slides that have been presented to you, not only last year at this time, but throughout the year. As you know, one of the major changes that we made this year was bringing you budget amendments and transfers every month. When we have new information, we provide you new information. And we also are updating that fund balance percentage so that you have the best information that we have. And that's our continuing commitment to you. So this reminds us of the budget development process, the people that we involve. And this slide reminds us that we're compliant with Missouri statute. There are 5 primary components that are listed there. That is included within the budget document that's posted on the website for you and the public to view. Budget message, our estimated revenues and expenditures, the debt of the district, and then culminating into the general budget summary that informs us of that fund balance percentage. That's the reminder slide on our funds and the distribution of how we must code expenditures and how our operating levy and our debt levies are separated out. And we'll get into the revenues. So reminding you again that we have these primary categories of revenue and how they are all impacted. I won't belabor all that, but if you have any questions or want me to pause, I'm happy to delve into any of that information. So again, this becomes rote whenever you're hearing about it all the time. So on local, the contributing factors, I did it again, there we go. We have our local tax rate calculation. In September, we'll bring you the calculation using state auditor information. I'll highlight that further later. Assessed valuation, consumer price index, and then the collection rate. Prop C is a statewide tax that is collected on state. We have student attendance, that's very critical. Our state adequacy target, which is the base revenue distribution, and some other factors weighing in on that. We then have our federal revenue, which as you've seen in previous presentations, that doesn't amount to very much for public education, except for those ESSER years when we were heavily impacted. This slide provides you the student enrollment projections, and you can see again that we've had a variety of numbers post-COVID, and our current number is at 16,289. We are projecting a slight increase, but I'm highlighting for you that our budget does not anticipate the increase. We'll wait and see what happens if we receive the additional 87 approximate students, and it's always ever changing. This is a reminder that we have had a demographic study in the past, but given the new information we continue to receive about potential changes in apartment complexes and other housing units, we do recommend performing an updated demographic study, and that would mean contracting with an individual or company to come in and do that, and that work would be deployed very soon. This slide provides you how those assessed valuations come into play. So we're estimating an increase for FY25 of $1,505,590, and that's all funds. And remember that the tax levy is deposited into all operating funds and also the debt service fund. We are currently projecting, and this is based on that April requirement where we took the St. Charles County data that they gave us and then calculated our estimated levy. We brought that to you during the April meeting. So in that information that the county provided us, there's an estimated $35 million in new construction for the district, for new construction and other improvements, I should say. We know that our consumer price index is 3.4%, and this past year it was 6.5, so a significant change in that. We are expecting a 99% collection rate, which has been something we've enjoyed in the district for several years. And the levy will be set in September using all the factors. And we know that we are held back by the Hancock provision where we can't grow greater than whatever's lesser, and I'll cover that in a minute. But the slides at the bottom, or the charts at the bottom, rather, the pictures, that provides you with a reminder on how assessed valuation is calculated. Using the market value of property, you apply that particular assessed valuation rate. So personal property is 33.33%, our commercial property is 32%, residential is 19%, and agricultural is 12%. This is that Hancock amendment that protects the community, basically, by imposing a cap on how much revenue we can grow. So if assessed valuation spikes, then the levy goes down. It's basically a scale, if you will. And the factors that are considered, it's the actual growth in assessed valuation, the inflation rate, which I just mentioned, consumer price index is 3.4 for us now, or 5%. So we already know that the cap would be 3.4% growth in revenue. But we are expecting our assessed valuation, because this is a non-reassessment year this summer, that we will not grow very much. Based on the April data from St. Charles County, we can anticipate approximately 1.91% growth. So it could be that would be our greatest revenue, and that's what we've included in the budget for your consideration. Proposition C, sales tax, a reminder, it originated in 1982. It's statewide, but it's collected by the state and then distributed out to public education districts based on WADA, weighted average daily attendance. And you can see that our estimate for FY25 is 1,513 per WADA, as compared to the current rate of 1,474. Those numbers are provided to us by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and it's based on the governor's recommendations. So all of that information flows to all districts, and we have the ability to project. We had the pandemic provision that had at one point protected us on our WADA number, on which that multiplier was applied, and that did go away previously, so we don't have that additional revenue. For state basic formula and classroom trust fund money, we're anticipating an increase of $3,475,969, and that's mostly because the state adequacy target is increasing. For the first time in 5 years, the state adequacy target is now changing from 6,375 to 6,760. Again, that's based on formula ADA. And we do have a dollar value modifier, and that's basically a cost of living adjustment that's applied district to district. We are changing to 1.088, down slightly from 1.092. So apparently it became a little less expensive from a cost of living perspective in our community. So again, the change in our ADA is based on membership and also attendance. I've said it before, I'll say it over and over. We need kids in school to learn, but we also are impacted in this state on our formula distribution based on attendance. So attendance is very critical for their success and the district's success. State transportation, we are planning for full funding for the second year. That was prioritized by the legislative body and has every indication that for FY25 we're protected in that. As a reminder, it is the second year since 1991. You can see those percentages that we received in the past. We're always capped at 75% of our allowable costs or authorized costs. And then if it starts getting prorated, it would be prorated down from that level. Financial institutions tax, I've shared with you that moving forward, we will not include this as an operating budget. We will be in wait and see mode. So we will wait to see what shows up and then bring a budget amendment to you as soon as we are able to do that. These charts both show you what has occurred in the past several years, and you can see that it is very, very sporadic, non-reliable for operating funds. Do you have a question, Ms.
No, I do see a pattern though.
Yes.
2 years of growth, 1 year of lean, 2 years of growth, 1 year of lean. So we're due for growth.
We're going to wait and see. I've shared with you that there is
That's where
no
you're going to
data.
find that $1 million.
Yes, there you go. There's no data available to us. It's a tax basically on banks and other financial institutions. This is a very unique, the dollars that Francis Howell has received have been very unique compared to any district I have awareness for in the state. And so it's relative to the businesses in our community. So again, we'll plan for this unpredictable revenue by adjusting the budget after we receive it. And the recommendation would always be that it be very targeted for one-time purchases, and whether that be in the capital area or whether it be in operational, for operational needs. This is a reminder for you. When we presented this to you a year ago, our total was just over 17 million for our ESSER funds, and as you can see, that has increased to 18.263 million. And I believe I told you last year at this time that we would be wrapping it up completely this year. At this point in time, we may have some things that cross over into the next fiscal year. For all districts, we must completely close out our final expenditure reports by September 30. So that work will be done and we'll get closure on that. It includes a provision that we must spend 20% of the most recent allocation for learning loss. And so some of that is continuing to cross over into the next year. But we'll bring you that budget amendment after we know how much it is. So other revenue that has been changed within the budget recommendation include our tuition program rate increase, increasing our revenue to an estimated $610,311. Our bond interest earnings, we're pulling that down because as we deplete the funds, we have less to earn interest revenue on. We had the refunding bond issue budget amendment that you approved previously, so that needs to come out. We also had a safety grant this year that now that budget allocation comes out both on the revenue side and the expenditure side. And then we had some other miscellaneous changes of just under $1.4 million. So the total other revenue changes is $20,887,775. This shows you some of those, the summary of some of those revenue types. As you can see, we have local tax increase for current and delinquent property taxes, the elimination of the student activity fee, a reduction of $160,000. Other pupil income, we're leveling that out to make sure that our revenue and expenditures offset one another, much like we treat our self-insurance fund and that type of thing. We had the tuition-based program, our state monies, Proposition C, the safety grant, and the adjustment on ESSER revenue that I had communicated, I think, back in December at least. So that summarizes all the rest of that. Again, ESSER-related grants. This splits it for you. It shows you the non-operating budgeted revenue items that are changing, and then by fund, you're seeing the overall changes in our revenue. And again, this is all anticipated that our revenue is depleting because we have received those ESSER funds that propped up our fund balance and have continued to allocate those as recommended. Any questions about revenue, or shall I continue on with expenditure? It's a little faster this year, right?
Continue on with revenue.
Yes.
Remind me how, I think we've talked about this before, I just don't remember, but remind me how we're estimating the senior citizen property tax freeze.
Well, we really don't have data. That's a great question. We have talked about it before. We've attempted to get information from the county, and we don't anticipate that there will be a significant impact for us this coming year, and that's because it's a non-reassessment year. But beyond that, and our hope is that we'll have some greater assistance in being able to get to the root of what that might look like. But it will come. You are correct.
And it won't result in a reduction, though. It'll just cap
We
future
would not
increases
grow
on those
as
properties.
much, correct.
Right.
It would be
Increase won't
frozen.
as much as it would otherwise be.
That is correct. So then we still could, and being deliberated is how does that affect the Hancock Amendment? And, are we going to take a double hit? Because is it going to pull down that AV number and then we still have the minimal increase? So there's speculation that there potentially could be some litigation that follows all of that. But more to learn. Wait and watch, or watch and wait. Great question. Okay, so on expenditures, we have these primary categories: our staffing, and that includes our negotiations for all salary and benefits, the health insurance increase that Mr. Myers just shared with you, purchase services adjustments, and supplies. This shows you a summary of the staffing plan that was approved by you at the January meeting, and then there were a few modifications, very slight, that were brought to you. You can see that our FTE count, our full-time equivalency count, has changed ever so slightly year over year, and the net increase is 0.71 FTE is included in that. Our salary estimate is, at this time for FY25, $5,916,508. That's the increase, and that's an increase of 4.07% comprehensively. For this year, salaries account for 61.5% of our total operating expenditures, and we've identified the interest-based bargaining units that we participate with through the negotiations process. This slide tells us that, once again, our benefits account for 22% of our total operating expenses. The primary factors in that, beyond the health insurance, include those retirement systems, public school retirement system at 14.5% of gross plus employee health, and then peers, which is the non-certificated or non-teacher or administrator rate at 6.86% of gross plus employee health. The other things that we're required to match include FICA, or affectionately referred to as Social Security, and Medicare. Teachers pay Medicare, they do not pay FICA. We have some slight benefit costs as well, and that includes worker compensation and employee compensation. So for our benefits, our estimate is an increase of $4,083,543. Again, that represents the 8% that we've communicated to you previously. We have an increase in peers and PSRS because we must apply that percentage to the gross pay and the health insurance. And that's noted at $1,253,675, with the health insurance increase noted at $2,101,253. The summary of expenditure changes for operating are noted here, and we do have some non-operating budgeted changes as well, and those would correlate to our capital fund, our debt fund, and you can see some of the changes noted on that slide on the right. I know this is getting a little small, but again, you can scroll and make it larger on your screen. This shows you all of the operating expense changes that have been embedded within the comprehensive budget recommendation that's posted online. As a reminder for you, you do have the next 2 weeks to review all of that information and bring forward any questions you might have. I won't read those to you, but again, this is the culmination of a multitude of leaders combing through their budgets, trying to identify where there might be excess budget, ways of doing business differently, and making those adjustment recommendations. This highlights, again, those primary changes that I just referenced were the bond fund. We had budgeted the full amount of the bond. We'll do that again as we roll into the new year, but we must wait until we close out the books following June 30 to know where those numbers will be directed. So Jane, I need a PD time on this. Here we go. I got there. So we've talked about operating funds. Now this is debt, capital projects, and bond. But you received a comprehensive presentation on debt a few months ago. I think it might have been the March board meeting. And then capital projects we provided to you during the April meeting, where we shared with you all of the work that had been done to address our life cycle replacement needs and this is the culminating recommendation for you. So we won't belabor all of the details of that since you already received it and it's posted online. But this highlights the summary of the changes to the debt service account. The debt service revenue increases relative to local tax and state assessed utilities. We've got a few other revenue items. The big change, of course, is that sale of refunding bonds that needs to be pulled out of that revenue. On the expenditure side, again, we actually, expenditures will decrease overall because we had an increase for any of our amortization costs, but then a decrease overall for the refunding that got pulled out. So that's noted as an increase, but it's actually a decrease. And it's always amazing to me how many times you can look at these presentations personally and still not see that. So I missed that. Okay, so on debt general, so this is now showing you, unless we receive new information, this is the budget that's included within our budget recommendation. And we do not expect this to change. We know that we'll bring you budget amendments when we have better information for all of these accounts. But we are estimating for the close of this current fiscal year, debt service will end at $26,663,797. We're anticipating revenues next year of $26,578,676 and expenditures of $27,150,019. So a slight reduction of the debt service fund. That's not unusual for that to fluctuate. We always are able to set the levy to generate the revenue to meet the principal, interest, and fee demands of debt service, and so that will occur again when we have the tax rate hearing and seek your approval during the September meeting. This is a slide that shows our general obligation debt, and there are 6 debt obligations. Those are noted at the bottom: 2009, 16, 19, 20, 22, and 24, with 24 being the refunding issue that you processed and approved this year. And then this next slide shows you the summary of principal and interest for all of the debt of the district. And again, we continue to maintain the debt service levy at 67.13 cents to provide the revenue for those annual payments. And we had shared with you during the capital presentation, or the debt, I think it was the debt presentation, about our bonding capacity. And just a reminder that that is governed by the Missouri Constitution, and it was voted in 1998 to be a 15% rate of assessed valuation in total. So we provided you that calculation, and we have the ability for bond issues of approximately $315 million at this time. Data is always changing in calculating that as well. This provides you a summary of the gross debt service general obligation bonds, and this is a slide that Stiefel Public Finance provides for us. You can see the repayment structure of all of that debt. I don't have new information regarding the dip on some of that. I know it's always relative to the ability of interest rates and securing bond purchasers for getting that all structured. For Capital Projects Fund, this shows you what we are planning for the budget that's included and the change in that. So we've been fairly aggressive this year in identifying needs and determining what we might be able to handle in terms of the workload moving forward this year. Those were all presented to you, as I mentioned, during the April meeting. And capital, I should also share that the department sent out notification that whereas districts in the past had been held at a $1,000 per item rate, if it was greater, if it was 1,000 or greater, it would be considered capital. And that is an archaic amount when you think about, there's no way you're going to pay to repair something and spend $800 when you could buy a new one for $1,000, right? And so just common sense tells you that. So in each district, including Francis Howell, I had engaged with the local auditor to seek permission to set our threshold at $3,000. And the auditor concurred with me that that would be appropriate and they would audit accordingly. And now we have new information that it's been increased to $5,000 per item. So that's very exciting. I still think it's a little bit low, but that's the threshold. So regarding capital, keep in mind that we rely on our fund balance carryover. We also rely on not only the small levy that gets placed in the capital fund at 6 cents of our operating levy, but we also transfer funds over. And The transfer included here is $5 million from operating to capital. This shows you our lease schedule and all of those terms within that. This information is also posted each year in the annual report to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. We include it, as I referenced early on, that it's one of those 5 requirements that we include all of our debt within our budget document that's recommended. This provides you clarity on the primary object categories of where our capital funds are being distributed. And so you can see that a lot of it is regarding building improvements. That's HVAC needs, roofs, that type of thing. That's historically been where it has been allocated. We do have our lease payments included in this as required by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and then any school bus purchases, that type of thing that we would be deploying in the district would be applied there as well. This summarizes now our capital projects fund relative to bond funds. And again, we provided the full allocation, and we know we won't spend all of that each year, but that covers us on budget, and then we retool as we have better information. So we have an estimated balance of, noted here in our bank account, of $11,755,237. We will continue to monitor that as we adjust for the end of the year. So we know that that will be higher, what we provide to you, because we know we haven't been able to spend all those funds this year. So this is the slide that just reminds us of when that bond issue was approved and provides that data each time. We provided that comprehensive report to you during the March 14th, 2024 meeting regarding the intention of how those funds could be allocated, and you supported that. That's that listing right there. We have now incorporated that into our bond financials that we provide you each month, and so you can monitor that with us. This now shows us that we are providing you with a total governmental fund expenditure of $295,987,162. Our revenues $280,957,257. Keeping in mind, governmental funds have the fluctuating bond and the fluctuating capital and the fluctuating debt within them. And that's why in Missouri Public Ed, we really hone in on the operating budget that is presented. That is how we inform our fund balance percentage. That is an indicator of the health of the district. I shared with you last year that the statute for Missouri indicates that you're financially stressed if you're at 3%, and I believe I told you that we are all stressed at that point because we're not meeting payroll and other important things. But as you can see right here, we're projecting that we would have a 28.35% operating fund balance percentage at June 30, 2025. That does include a capital transfer of $5 million. So an a balanced operating budget is presented. There could be times as we move forward, as we've looked at our trajectory, that won't be the case, because we know we will be continuing to spend some of that ESSER fund balance that has been provided to us and is currently in the bank account. So this information just reminds you of our self-insurance fund, and we committed to you last year that we would keep that separate so that we can more easily track it and that it would not affect our operating fund balance percentage. And so this is a proprietary fund separate from our DESI funds that we report on. We are providing for an allocation that would end up being a total of $31 million for revenue and $31 million for expenditures. And you can see the breakdown of those claims versus other expenditures. Just a reminder that for all the claims that are processed, we rely upon third-party processors to process that information. We don't have details of any individual's personal health information within the district. Oh, there's the $31 million, and so references all the other things. And so I do have a clarifying moment for you, because last year I had included that 8% would be required so that we wouldn't have to borrow funds to meet payroll. And I should have said 8% leaning into the next budget cycle in the next month, okay? So if we're looking at a June 30 percentage, truly the 15% fund balance is necessary to avoid short-term borrowing. Not an unusual thing for a school district like Francis Howell, where we are highly dependent on local revenues. And we have the dip of revenue spiking, or the dip of our expenditures, rather, July through November, before we start receiving that new revenue from local tax income. So this slide then references that Missouri statute about the 3%. Again, 15% is the right place for us. We took another look at it just to make sure that that would be an appropriate threshold for us at June 30. And then our board policy, as you well know, does indicate that we will strive to maintain a minimum of 15% of prior expenditures. So again, our estimated fund balance percentage is 28.35 at June 30 of 25, but we know that will change as we move forward. So this slide highlights that basically we don't know what to expect in the long term. We don't know how legislation might impact us. Provided in the budget, I should have highlighted on the state adequacy target, it's supposed to grow another $385 per WADA, formula WADA the next year in FY26, but we are only budgeting 50% of that. So we don't know what we can expect moving forward. All we can do is continue to monitor it. But again, our assumptions are noted for your consideration for all that has been included within the budget recommendation. This is the final operating fund trajectory. And again, this is not new information for you. We've provided it to you routinely. And it shows you that as we continue to look out to FY28, again, being relatively, I don't like to use the word conservative, but realistic is the word I actually prefer to use. You can see that as we look out to FY 2028, June 30 of 2028, based on the assumptions that we've included within the budget information, we are looking at maintaining still a 16.06% ending fund balance. We know that we have other work to do to ensure that that flattens out and that we don't have that downward curve on where our fund balance heads. This shows you the general budget summary. So this is that final requirement of the statute where we list all of our revenues and expenditures and transfers by fund. We're showing you our surplus and deficit by fund column, and then any restricted fund balance information. Again, 28.35% at this moment in time. That is it. This just reminds us that we'll continue to do our budget amendments each month, and we'll continue on our analysis journey.
Any questions, board?
Just a small one. It was a slide 32 where it mentioned increase instead of decrease, just to make sure that that was changed.
Oh, yes. That, I'll change that before
So
we
people who
post
go
it.
into it afterwards can see that.
Mhm.
Slide 32.
Right.
Just a comment or point out that back in December or January, we talked about trying to extend the freshman sports season. And we took care of it. This is in that budget, it looks like, for
It
next
is.
year. So freshman sports now have a full season next year. Right?
I should have highlighted that. Thank you for pointing
Yeah,
that out.
that was one not changed. That was good.
Thank you, Ms. Embry.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. I know it's overwhelming, and I know you have a lot of information to go through. Happy to take any call or email, however you would like to approach digging more deeply into the information.
We're just going to hold you to those numbers, that we're going to bring in more revenue than expenditures, right?
I think I also said we know these numbers will change.
Yeah.
How they will change is to be determined.
No, you did an excellent job.
Okay,
Thank you, Carol.
And up next, we have superintendent comments. Dr. Rumpus.
Thank you, President Bertrand. First, I'd like to also thank Ms. Embry, Mr. Myers, and the rest of the Finance Department for the incredible work on the budget recommendation that you just heard. This is a significant lift that, as she reminded you, began last October with the capital planning process and then involved leaders and staff from every single school and department in the entire district, working much of the year on preparing the following year's budget at the same time that they're still analyzing the prior year and making sure that we're running the day-to-day operations fiscally for the district. We really believe that this is a budget that will continue to meet the needs of the students in our district, move us toward being more competitive with salaries that we believe our teachers and our staff really deserve, while also ensuring that the community resources are being utilized responsibly as taxpayers within the community. When this was presented to you last year, we committed to better engaging both you and stakeholders in the district to review all of the expenditures and revenues from the prior year and looking at this year's. And we really believe that our financial path was more transparently shown this year with the monthly presentations you've been receiving. And we've heard positive feedback from the community about that as well. So thank you to Carol and the entire department for the work that they've done on that. Whether you're a parent within the district or a taxpayer that does not have school-age children, or you're a staff member, we know that everybody has a vested interest, and we've done a lot of surveying this spring, but our community stakeholder survey is currently open and will be open through June 10th. Later this summer, we share the information that we get from that survey, specifically compared to prior years with the Board of Education. So I'd like to encourage anyone to complete that if they have not already done so. I want to take a moment and celebrate the staff, students, and families at Central Elementary. We learned recently that they are one of only 149 schools in the state of Missouri to receive the PBS Award of Excellence for this past school year. And this recognizes the implementation of the multi-tiered system of support for behavior in the school and really demonstrates a commitment to the processes that need to be in place to help the students be successful. So congratulations to Central Elementary. And then the last thing, just to get to celebrate again, that I got to spend about 11 hours with most of you last Saturday at the Family Arena as we celebrated just shy of 1,200 high school seniors getting to walk across the stage from our 3 comprehensive high schools. And then about 10 days prior to that, we celebrated 100 graduates from Union. And day to day, we recognize that there's incredible work happening throughout this district, but that really is a celebration of our why as we recognize these students going on to 2-year, 4-year post-secondary college learning opportunities, entering the workforce, and many of our students who are also going directly into the military. So it was a great celebration of the culmination of 12 or 13 years of education in the district, and I just want to thank all of our staff for the incredible hard work that goes into preparing our students as graduates. Thank you.
Any board comments?
I'll just say, personal privilege, just to make a comment that my oldest son got his driver's license yesterday. I'm super excited about that. So everybody count the amount of gray hairs I have today, then a year from now we'll see how it works out. I wanted to recognize the 11 hours we spent as a board at the graduations, and thought it was a wonderful collection of ceremonies. Wide variety of handshakes is one thing we noticed. Some people shake hands a little stronger than others, and I wanted to lift up one board member had attended a funeral earlier that day and still came to do the act and service of a board member at the graduation, and I want to lift up that as a great act that I was really impressed by. I want to thank Adam and Randy for their comments at the library meeting a couple weeks ago. Heartfelt, appreciate hearing them speak, and just wanted to see what else we can do going forward if Brain Pop isn't part of our future at Francis Howell. How do we create a future that is as strong as possible for every single student? And so love to hear conversations with the teachers about what suggestions they might have to provide that. So thank you.
Just one quick comment. I know Dr. Rumpus mentioned being with the board on Saturday at graduations for 11 hours, and you mentioned the board was 11. Just for the public's sake, the board doesn't talk about we don't talk about business during that time. A lot of talk about baseball and families. So no business is occurring during that time. That may not be clear to the public, so I just want to make that crystal clear that we're not meeting in secret in the family arena green rooms.
Exactly. I appreciate that, and an awful lot of baseball, so I apologize to both Jane and Carolee for way too much baseball.
I don't apologize for talking about baseball at all. Director Blair turned me on to a new thing that I've become addicted to, guessing players and things like that. I do want to highlight one of the things that President Bertrand brought up with a moment of silence earlier at the beginning of the meeting. And, I don't know that a lot of people, I guess we all know about this day and know what this day means to our country and a lot of the families that have been involved with the military and our services. And, I was reading something a little earlier that said that with the Allied forces storming the beach of Normandy, there was over 4,000 young men and women that lost their lives, mostly men, on that beach. Over 2,500 of them that day were American soldiers. And, I think in the whole war, over 170 some odd thousand Allied troops lost their lives. And this day was kind of the culmination or the beginning of all of that. And it's something that I don't take lightly, the sacrifice that those folks made, those young men that never got to live their lives or have kids and enjoy all of the things that we get to enjoy this in our lives every single day. One of which being the ability to sit up here and speak to you and debate and make decisions that we think are right for this country and for these students and this district. So. When you go home tonight, maybe just take a step back and thank those kids that lost their lives. Some of them I heard today that there were lieutenants that were 23 years old. That's crazy to me that some of these kids were 17, 18, 22, 23 years old and storming this beach knowing that they were probably not going to come home. The amount of valor and bravery that those young men showed was amazing to me, something that I've never seen in my lifetime. I've seen a lot of people be brave, but nothing like that. So just when you get home tonight, just hug your kids, hug your family, and thank them for really allowing us to be here and do this. Thank you.
I know I'm jumping out of turn. Mark was responsible for the first standing ovation we gave at the graduation ceremony for all the graduating seniors who are part of the military going directly into the military service. And it's really interesting to be in a position where you truly look up to somebody so much younger than you, and the content of the character was just brilliant. I don't know if the district has listed the names of everybody, but I feel like, just like what Mark said, there's an opportunity for us to celebrate and honor these 18-year-olds who are incredibly brave. And so, Mark, thank you for starting the standing ovation, and I completely agree. Thank you.
Just real quick. So several of the emails that we received this week, and then also there's a comment made tonight as to pulling items so late in the week. You have to understand that, I guess you don't have to understand, but just for a little clarity, say for instance this last weekend was jam-packed. We had graduation all day. And then if you happen to volunteer for a graduation party, to work the party tables, you don't get home until the wee hours of the next morning. You're in no mindset or interest that following day to look at an agenda for the school board meeting. So you've got a full day the following. You've got a job, you got a family. So somewhere in between there, you've got a group of 7 people doing their best to go through the agenda to raise questions, and then the answers to the question come out, say on a Wednesday night. Doesn't leave a whole lot of time. There's nothing nefarious going on. We're doing the best we can in the most timely manner that we can. I would just say that, and then for those that organize, there's one member, the president of the Party Central here, the amount of work those people do to organize a graduation party is mind-boggling. While I'm standing there watching them stuff last-minute baskets and big for all the students, crazy amount of work. Kudos to them.
I have some comments on a totally different note. Thank you, Director Harmon, because I know that we're all volunteers and we're doing everything we can to try to keep up at times. But anyway, the students in this district were shamelessly lied to. Why? Was it unknowing or was it intentional? For those responsible, I'll let you wrestle with your conscience on your own, but I will ask you to remember these numbers. 62 and 74. That's a total of 136. There were alternates, but not enough to make a material difference in this discussion. For this, but in light of this, I want to set the record straight. Late last year, this board decided to remove the Southern Poverty Law Center divisive curriculum from our district. Students should never be taught to look through the lens of color when interacting with their peers, and that's exactly what the Southern Poverty Law Center curriculum did. And that curriculum was adopted by a group that admitted that it was not a good idea to be open about its adoption in St. Charles County, but that deceit is worthy of its own discussion. We had over 300 students protesting their rights, which that's their right to do that, to take a Black history or Black literature course when they were lied to and told that this board was removing these courses, not taking out changing the curriculum, removing these courses. Unfortunately, there's a faction in this district that wants division and thinks that's what's best for our students. I don't subscribe to this belief now, nor have I ever. Getting back to the two numbers, there were 62 students that signed up for Black history courses. There were 74 that signed up for Black literature. That's out of the entire district. This tally was taken after registration for electives, at which time it was closed. So no student experienced a disruption or inability to take Black history or Black literature last spring semester or this coming fall semester. My question to you is, where's the media to straighten the record?
Okay, just a real quick comment for myself. So I just want to congratulate all of our recent graduates, like a number of us up here, but also give a big thank you to all the staff and their hard work over the summer for our students. I know there's many things going on, and as you can see, each of us have very individual and have varying perspectives. That is by design, even when it's messy. We're each one voice of seven. That we don't always agree. That does not mean anyone is not doing what they believe is best for students and the district. No board member has the right to make demands of others prior to making decisions, as we are not a monolith up here in our individual decisions, but I do encourage individuals to reach out to other board members when they have questions or concerns or potential individual conversations. We should all have courteous relationships, but we are all expected to reach our own conclusions, which I believe we do. In meetings, we come together, and it may provide information or may ask questions for a short amount of time prior to formalizing our decisions as a whole. But at the end of the day, that's how it's designed. This is how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to have conversations, even when it's messy. But I thank everybody for being here and joining us tonight. Or like a motion to adjourn. Ronder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it.